You can't see that. That's for syncing. It's for syncing videos.
Huh?
The 5-4.
Oh, I thought
It's for
they just
syncing.
did it.
That's why they go silent.
I just thought they went silent so you can hear them like when they're doing like the
Yeah,
Anchorman.
exactly. But
They're syncing.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I just watched Anchorman when I was in California, so I watched him do it. That's why I did it. Yeah, so life. California. I went to California. And we won. We didn't win.
Oh, that was this weekend.
We passed. Yeah, we passed.
I completely forgot about that because I'm a piece of shit. And I don't think about anybody but myself. I forgot that you were even leaving.
Yep, I left. That's why I was going on Friday.
All right.
You toadstool.
Sorry. So
You scallywag.
How'd it go? You won? Is that what you said?
Well,
what do you mean
passed
you won?
So, for everybody who has zero idea of what we're talking about, me and Cutter, which is my doggy, he's a Rottweiler, we went to California for our first Schutzhund trial. Schutzhund is a dog sport that we compete in, and it's new for me, it's new for Cutter. Neither one of us have ever done it before, so we've been training for the last about 2 years. We've been training.
Mm-hmm. How old is he anyways?
He's 2.5. I started training when he was 6 months. But yeah, so we went to California for this club trial that was out there, and we were competing for our BH, which is the first like obedience title that you get. And you have to do this whole pattern where they heel right next to you, and they're supposed to look at you while they're walking next to you, and you like walk and do this course where you walk down, turn around, you run, you walk, you turn, you go through all these people, and then you have to have them do a couple different things. But it's a lot of pressure. A little bit nervous, and we ended up getting it done, passed. It wasn't the prettiest thing. A lot of mistakes. We learned a lot though. Yeah, he had, as soon as we got onto the field, he had to take a shit. And I could tell. And so it like, he was like looking weird and uncomfortable for some of it. And then I think after a while, he kind of went away because he came back and it was like started being a little bit better. But yeah, for a while he's like looking around, and then he's like looking at me, giving me the look, and then he's like sniffing the ground. I'm like, no. And in competition, if your dog goes to the bathroom on the field, it's a instant disqualification. So it's super like stressful. And I had known that he hadn't shit all day, and I was like taking him out, and it's all different because we're in California, so we're staying in a hotel, and he doesn't have his yard, and I'm taking him to the park, and I'm taking him out to these different areas and trying to make him go to the bathroom, and he's just like, I'm not comfortable here. And so he never went. And then of course at nighttime it's time to do the trial, and he's like, I really gotta go now, Dad. Like, well, you gotta wait now. But finished up, we got it done. Another lady that's in our club, she got her BH with her young German Shepherd.
What does BH stand for?
Some German word, something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, I don't know what it is, but
Do you
it's
know
something
what it
in
means?
German. I think it's
Come on, man.
Something beginning title or something. I don't know. Beginning handler. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm making stuff up now.
No, that's perfect. That's good.
Another guy got his BH with his German Shepherd, and then the same lady has an older Doberman. She got another tracking title and a more advanced obedience title with that one. And then the head guy, Bill, got titled his first like more advanced one. He had a BH on his dog. He's a Malinois. And then he got a more advanced title for the obedience. And his performance, I would say, looked the best out of everybody's. His dog looked real sharp and looked real like comfortable out there, and everything looked really good. But overall, it was a big win for like the whole club. We went down there and we represented the club well, and everybody passed what they came down to pass, and successful weekend. Got a lot to learn, got a lot to work on. Now we get to go into more advanced stages of the bite work with Cutter because he got his BH. So that's exciting.
So you started off by saying you won. Was there something to win?
No, I just meant like we won, like we passed. But yeah, for the BH, it's just pass or fail. There's no points. For the advanced ones that used to be called IPO 1, 2, and 3, they now since changed the name. It's like just like with anything else, there's like politics, and in Germany is where the sport was created, and they make up the final rules of everything. And so if they decide to change rules on something, or they decide to change the name of something, they just do that. So they've changed all the names and a bunch of rules around, but before it was called IPO 1, IPO 2, and IPO 3 as the different advancements. And for those ones, you get points. You get graded on a point system, and then you're ranked. So in the competition, they'll give out like first place, second place, third place, and they have like the score rankings. And this is just a club trial. And then they have like regionals, they have nationals, and they have like world ones too, where like they have competition, like people from every country come out, and it's pretty crazy. Those guys this was like my first competition, and seeing like how difficult it is doing like the minor stuff, it's even more impressive now knowing that some of these people are scoring in high 98s, high 90s. It's a scoring system out of 100, and so there's like the top guys are scoring like 98, 95, maybe 93 on something, but like their scores are all like in the 90s for like the top people. It's super impressive for how much like pressure and stress that you're doing.
So the BH is what, like a prerequisite for other?
Yes. Yeah, so you get the BH, that's your first one. It's basically just to make sure that the dog isn't aggressive and that you have control over him.
Why? Because like the off-leash stuff, or?
Yeah, so you do off-leash stuff. There's stuff where you walk into a group of people, and then the people move in around you and get close. They want to make sure that the dog isn't aggressive towards people. And then because they don't allow like aggressive dogs into the sport, like it's all about control. Like there is bite work and stuff where you're sending the dog to attack the decoy, but it all has to be controlled. It's not just like just attack everything. So it's
my dog's good at biting.
He just doesn't want to let go. So yeah, you get that one first, and then they'll have a thing where you tie the dog out by itself. You walk away so the dog can't see you, and then they'll walk by with other dogs to make sure he's not dog aggressive.
Is he? I mean, I know he gets super excited with
my dog.
My dog, yeah.
No, he's not dog aggressive.
I mean, not aggressive like. So aggressive like is just like anger then.
Yeah, aggressive.
It was
like I'm
when,
gonna kill you.
When my dog comes over, I mean, he gets super fucking excited. It's obviously playful, but
yeah,
it's
that's
like
not aggression. It's just playful. But even like they're not allowed to like. They just have to lay there. So.
Oh, okay.
So like if I tied him out and I told him to lay down, you could walk by with your dog and he would just lay there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Is that like the tie up or whatever the hell you call it? Is that like symbolic to him then? It's like when I'm on a leash tied up or something like that, that's when I'm good? No,
he just needs to listen to me all the time. So like.
But if you're not there?
The tie out's just to make sure that like he can't get to, if something were to happen, it's just an extra safety during like the competition. But like for the BH, for all of the competition things, there's 2 people on the field at a time, so there's 2 dogs working. The only time that there isn't is for the protection stuff when they're doing the bite work. There's only 1 dog on the field at a time. But for the obedience stuff, when 1 dog is working, doing the whole healing exercises or doing retrieves or something, the other dog is in what's called a long down. So you go over, you tell your dog to lay down, they're off leash, and then you walk away like 30 to 50 feet away, and the dog has to stay there the entire time while the other dog's working. And so they just lay there. So in the BH, you do that too. And Cutter I was really happy with Cutter. He's always good. He always lays down and stays there. He usually doesn't break and go like run and try and play with the dog, but he does like to crawl. So he'll like be sniffing the ground, and he'll do a real slow, like low army crawl. And like you'll turn around and look back. Dad. Yeah, you'll look back and he'll be like 5 feet from where he started, and you're like, "What are you doing?" And you just see him just kind of like inching along. But he did good. He stayed where he should, so that was cool. But
well, congrats.
Thank you. It was.
How often does this stuff happen?
It was neat. You can find, there's like trials going on kind of all over in different places, so it's just kind of depending on like how much you want to travel and stuff. You know, you could find one like every couple months or so.
So you just enter if you want, if you got the one previous or something like that?
Yeah.
How it works?
Yeah, you put in, you got to pay your entry fee, and then you can compete as long as you have like the proper like prerequisite to do it. And then you have like your scorebook you have to, before you do any competition, you have to get a scorebook from Germany. So you have to like put in your entry form for the dog for you, send them all of the like information on the dog and like the breeder, if it's like a dog that you got like from a breeder, you have like the mom and the dad of the dog. Like it's like an extensive process. You get all this information, you send it out to Germany, and then if they accept you, they send it back and you get your scorebook, and then you use this official scorebook for everything, because it's like even on like the club trial levels, they mark everything in your scorebook, and it's all like recorded in this like official database of stuff.
So before you went, you were talking about how you kind of just started this and didn't really have any, set goals or anything like that. You just started it. It seemed like it was something entertaining to do, and then like a year or so down the road, you realize that you're just doing really well at it, even though it's not something that you really even considered that you'd be doing. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
it was talking about it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, like sometimes there's things in life that you like get into and you don't really put much like thought into it, and then it like before you know it, it becomes like a major part of your life. It's a lot more important than you ever thought it would be. And there's also, on the flip side of that, there's things that you like strive for and you like want to be really good at, and like sometimes it like doesn't work out. Like you're like, oh, like I put so much effort, I really want this thing to happen, or I want it to be this way, and like sometimes it isn't. Like you try and like you may do it or whatever, but you just like don't ever get that good at it or whatever. And then there's things that you're like almost more just like relaxed with and carefree, and you're like, oh, I just kind of do it for fun, but it seems like you're a lot better at that. And not necessarily saying that one is the reason for the other, like because you don't want it, you're better at it, but it just kind of happens that way. And like
I think it's a mental thing though, because like when you want something, it's kind of like, how I told you back in the day that it's best to interview for a job when you don't need the job.
Yeah.
Because you kind of don't care, because you have a job, like, and it's not, it's... I mean, it may be something that you kind of want, or you wouldn't be looking for it anyways, but the fear kind of goes away.
Yeah.
And so if you have something like this...
confident mindset.
Yeah, and you're not really thinking about it, it's almost like the urge to really want something almost gets in your head and scares you away.
Clouds your judgment.
Where something like this, if you it's interesting, but you never really thought of, like doing it.
Yeah.
You don't have that urge, that desire that's going to cloud. I think that's where people's fear of doing certain things comes in, where that's where it's like really good to, I don't know, if you can really get in the mindset of, I can do anything, that. that question, that, I don't know, the mystery is gone. And so it makes everything much easier to accomplish, because you realize it's like, all I got to do is just, try. But you don't. That's a shitty thing about me and podcasts, is my mind is going a million miles per minute, and I know exactly what I'm thinking, but I can't. I can't get it out.
Formulate it into words.
But yeah, it's almost like a carefree attitude is the way to attack more things that you really want.
Everything.
If you can get out of your mind a little bit and get out that it's like, man, this is something you really want to do, and just be like, nah, it's just something, and if I'm great at it, good. If I suck, whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna change.
Yeah, and I think, and like I've seen that with like fellow like friends and like competitors that do the sport. They'll like they'll get into like their own head and like stress about it, because it is like super important for them. They put all this like time and effort into it, and it almost makes you like kind of neurotic about it. Like you stress about it, and you think about it as this like giant thing, and if I mess it up, like it's like life's gonna be over. Like it's so crazy, and so you bring that like stressful energy. And like one of the interesting things about working with dogs, doing like dog training and stuff, is they're masters of body language, and they can read people extremely well. Like whether it's just looking at them and like physically reading how they look, how they're posturing, but like they can also smell things. They can smell different hormones and stressful things that you're giving off when you're like stressed out, or if you're angry, or
is that the whole bees and dogs can smell fear thing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's truth behind it.
Yes. Yeah. They can smell different hormones and stuff that your body gives off. And like a lot of animals can do that. It's not just them, but yeah. So like, and it usually transfers into them, especially if you and your dog are like a good working team and you guys have like a strong bond. If you're feeling a certain way, if you're stressed out, or if you get like scared or nervous, that like transfers into them, and they start acting like super weird. And like it's crazy, because you can tell, like, if you're just like training and it's no big deal and you're super relaxed and it's just like another Thursday night and you're just healing around, you're having fun, you're playing with them and doing whatever, and you're keeping it. That's the thing too, is like keeping it fun for them. And like they'll be like on point, and they'll be full of energy, and they'll be right into position, and they'll be looking to please you, and the sits and the downs and everything will be like super on point. And then you go out and you're like real stressed, or you maybe even on days like you had like a rough day at work and you're like stressful and your like temper is short, and they like pick up on that. And so you're like getting frustrated with them, and then they're all like antsy and sporadic, and they're like trying to like make it better, but they don't know what to do. And it's just like you mesh much better when you both are like nice and calm and relaxed. And so when you think about it as just like, oh, we're gonna just go out there and have fun, that's the best way to do it, and just keep it like nice and casual. Because if you like think about it too much, you get into your head and stress yourself out, and that just goes into them.
Well, you know how we were talking before you went, I probably repeated that several times on the podcast too, but we were talking about the excitement versus nervousness thing.
Yeah.
And how I heard that it's the same reaction in the brain, same chemicals that are released and stuff like that. So if you can train yourself to say, I'm excited, and feel it as excitement, it kind of works more as a motivation and a push forward, whereas nervousness makes you kind of, shut down and you're all in your head and stuff like that. But if you can realize that the chemicals are all the same and it's the exact same feeling, it's just the mindset that's different.
Yeah, the same physiological response.
How does that work with dogs though? So if that's true, and it is exactly the same, as far as human physiology goes, can a dog tell the difference between excited and nervous? So like if you're in your head and you're like, oh, okay, I'm getting excited now, and it's like, how's a dog going to read that? Oh man, that sounds like really deep. I mean, it's hard enough.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. It's hard enough to get in your own mind and start learning your own feelings, because we have feelings, but we don't really process them. It's just, like on the surface, we don't really understand ourselves well enough. So to learn to understand your own feelings, and then you got another level where you got to start reading another
The dog's
being.
feelings.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so with that, I would say that dogs aren't contemplating whether their feelings are of nervousness or not, as
Right.
we do,
Yeah.
So the thing to do would be take your nervousness, turn it into excitement, and then hopefully allow yourself to relax a little bit, and that'll cause the dog to relax, stay calm, and bring like a nice calm energy to it. And I think that's kind of because I mean, the dogs don't know that they're. I mean, some dogs that are experienced know that, okay, they pick up on certain things. They're really smart, and they pick up on patterns. So, okay, we're not at home. Okay, we've been training a lot in strange places. Okay, that means that we're going to a competition. And they might not know, like, what a competition is or, like,
Right.
what that is, but they know that they've done this before, But for a dog that's, like, kind of new, they don't really know. They're just like, oh, we're out here. Like, I've never seen this place before. So they probably get a little more, like, kind of, like, nervous and weirded out because it all just looks weird. Like, Dad, why are we out here? What is this place?
Uh-huh.
But one of the things that I've done with Cutter, and that is good for dogs, is I've conditioned him to many different, like, stimulus and many different, like, places. I take him into stores. I take him to Bass Pro Shops, all the places that allow dogs. I've taken him to different parks. I've taken him to the mountains. He's been in the snow. He's been in the desert. He's been in the mountains. He's been to the lake. He's been through, like, down city walkways, bike paths. So getting them around many different things is helpful in building their confidence for being around those things. So he's, like, just naturally a pretty confident dog, so it was easy to do these things. With some dogs that are, like, real nervous, it can be difficult because every time you go to a new place, they might be really scared. And so you have to take it slow. You have to work on these things. You have to make sure they have a good experience. You give them a lot of treats or rewards, or you play with them, or whatever you do to reward the dog. You have to make that place a good experience. And so that can be complicated for some dogs that are real skittish. And that's for people listening that don't train dogs or have a dog that might be nervous around certain things. For example, some dogs are afraid of the vacuum. Pull out the vacuum and they're terrified. They're cowering. They run into the corner. You have no idea why. You never beat them with the vacuum or anything. They never had, like, a crazy experience with it. But some dogs are just a little more nervous, and loud noises or moving things might freak them out just naturally. That's just how they react to it. And so how you make that better is you make it a good experience. Okay, every time the vacuum comes on, the dog gets a treat, a little reward. And then pretty soon you turn that vacuum on and the dog's excited because they know that every time they hear that noise that it's a good thing.
Right.
And the worst thing that you can do for everybody listening, and I know this is, like, I've seen so many of, like, my friends do this, is that when their dog gets scared of something, they do it more because they think it's funny. Because, like, it's funny to watch that, like, oh my gosh, look at it. Like, he doesn't act like this ever, but when I turn on the vacuum or when I'm sweeping, he gets super scared and runs away. It's really funny looking. Because, like, they, especially with, like, a goofy dog, like, scrambling around. And, like, please don't do that. You're stressing the dog out, and then you're going to wonder why you're going to be out and about somewhere or at a park and somebody makes a noise. The dog thinks it's a vacuum or something else you scared him with, and then the dog takes off on you and you can't control him. And you're like, why are they doing that? Why, dumb dog, why are they doing that? And it's like, well, part of that's your fault. And that kind of comes back to any problems that a dog has as a handler, like you're responsible for it. You may not have caused it originally, but
Even though you did.
if you don't, well, in that situation,
Right.
but I'm just saying, like, you know, if you take your dog out and they're like terrified of other dogs, like you maybe didn't do anything to scare them with another dog, but you certainly are responsible for helping them get through that or do things. You know, it's easy. It's like dogs are like our kids, you know, and we don't want to look like a bad parent. And it's like, we've all seen the person that's at the park that has no control over their dog. They let him off leash. The dog's running around. They're calling him. The dog's running over, humping a dog. They're sniffing another dog. They're running circles around them, and the person's calling, chasing them around, and they have zero control over the dog, and the dog doesn't listen to them at all. And they're like, I don't know why he's like that. And it's like, well, you did not train them. That's why they're like that. Like, it's pretty simple.
That's interesting.
And dogs embarrass all of us. Even I've seen the highest trained dogs do goofy shit. So don't beat yourself up over it, because nobody's dog is perfect, and everybody's dog has a moment where they just don't listen. They decide, because they're funny little creatures. They're opportunistic, and sometimes they like know how to push your buttons. They're like, oh, you think you trained me? Okay, well, I'm just gonna hang over here a little bit longer when you call me, just to irritate you in front of all these people. I'm gonna embarrass you just a little bit right here. Oh, I'm a good boy, I'm back. And it's funny. They're funny to have around. But yeah, so coming back to the whole vacuum thing, please don't scare your dog, because you're gonna probably get mad at them for something they do later on that has to relate to something with that. Just try to make it a good experience for them. Give them a little treat. And when I say give them a treat, I'm not talking about giving them like a full milk bone. Like, they make little like training treats, so you can give them like a bunch and the dog isn't 400 pounds overweight, because that's another issue. People give their dogs like,
I was gonna say, it doesn't take
20
much, because
20 cookies a day.
Like Iris, that's my dog, was deathly afraid of the vacuum, but you know, just not being an asshole was enough. Mm-hmm. It's like not chasing her around with it.
Yeah, telling her it's
and
okay.
And just being, yeah, pretty much. And so, like, there's been times where, well, she'll still get a little skittish, you know, because, like, she's standing where I need to vacuum. It's like, so you, like, approach really slow. Mm-hmm. It's like, I got to vacuum there, you know, you gotta move on. She'll, like, freak out a little bit, but, I mean, she doesn't get scared like she used to. And I never treated her.
Yeah.
But it's just not being an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
just making
I imagine just naturally she gets used to the fact that, okay, this is a regular thing. This is going to happen often. And I don't get my tail fucking sucked up in the vacuum.
Yeah.
So
the monster isn't going to eat me.
Yeah, pretty much. But then when she's in a corner, you know, and you just like, I need to get to that corner, dog.
Yeah.
And then she like, but just not being an asshole, I guess, is.
Yeah. And again, dogs are masters at body language, and they understand tone and touch. So just like the power of your voice and the power of you touching them and comforting them is extremely powerful. You can reward your dog without giving them any treats at all. Like you said, you just, you tell them, oh, it's okay. And then you kind of, you reach your hand out, you kind of give them a little pet, or you vacuuming, doing whatever. And they're reassured. Okay. And once you have done like work with your dog or like bonded with them, you create this partnership of trust, and your like words and everything become much more valuable to them, because they believe you, they trust you, there's a bond there. And so if I go somewhere and for whatever reason it is a place that Cutter seems a little nervous at or scared at, and I tell him it's okay and I give him a little pat on the head, he's like, oh, all right, we're good then. Like, I trust Dad. If Dad says it's okay, then we're good. But coming back to it, if you fuck with your dog with the vacuum, they're not going to trust you.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, well, you're saying it's okay, but the last time you said it was okay, you just baited me in and then poked me with the broom and laughed. But
this is the one thing that drives me nuts about people, though, is humans don't have the capacity a lot of times to think beyond the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard to get in that mode of thinking about how your actions now may affect, even, other people in the future. And that's my biggest pet peeve about parenting. And I feel like I'm the best fucking parent in the world just because I'm able to think further in the future. And I know I'm not. I'm actually probably a shit parent, but it drives me nuts when people don't think in the future and how now is going to affect. Like, if my wife ever hears this, she's going to get pissed at me, but whatever. We're very different parents. She is our daughter's best friend. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, her number one goal is to make sure that our daughter is happy at all times. And it's kind of awesome if you think about it, but then there comes the times where it's like, you know what? It's time to stop being the best friend, and where, there's got to be a happy medium. That's where my shit parenting comes in, is because I'm always thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And so I'm not thinking as much as I should about the now. As I'm always thinking about how is this going to affect her, 5 years from now. And it's not this exact moment. This exact moment is not going to affect anything, probably, because it's so small in the grand scheme of things. But, like a constant, like, this is not okay. Whereas if I'm being a friend and trying to, so concerned about her happiness, it's, I think you're instilling bad behaviors and stuff like that, where I think about way off in the distance, this has to be a constant thing. I'm trying to be very vague.
Yeah.
And it's probably not being very clear. I should probably think of an example. But
this is what I've experienced, because I've been in a few different relationships with women that have children, and so I've experienced kind of a unique perspective on a lot of things, because I've been around different people, been around different parents, been around my parents, been around my sister who has kids, and so I get a large range of perspective on parenting, and I think about it a lot, because I'm the same way as you. Is I'm constantly thinking about, like, okay, like, how do I be a good parent, to any child that come into contact with. And it doesn't even have to be your own kid. It could be a friend's kid. You might be the uncle or the aunt or whatever. But if you come into contact with a child and you're with them for longer than 20 minutes at any given time, like, you're a part of them, like, developing.
Right.
In my opinion. So
especially if it's on a regular basis.
Yeah, exactly.
You just see somebody's kid in a store.
Yeah. But, I mean, even still, though, you can have an effect on them. But, yeah, if you see them, like, often, you are parenting children, It takes a village to raise kids, and you are a part of that if you are in a kid's life at all. And so, something that I've learned is that overall, the mother figure in the relationship is, if they are a good mother figure, they are, as you described your wife. They want to make the child happy. And now, obviously, this doesn't apply to everybody, but it's a lot of what I've seen. They want the child to be happy. So when it comes down to being hard on them for certain things, a lot of times they don't want to do it. They let things slide a lot more. They're a lot more lenient. They will tell them something, and then the kid pushes them on it a little bit, and then they kind of break, and they'll just, let it go with it. And then you and, like, me, we're, like, on the opposite side, where we're, like, real hard on them, and we want to make sure that they have solid structure and rules, because we don't want them to end up in prison in 20 years, and we're, like, thinking about, like, how they're going to be a little crook because they just stole this candy bar, and
Exactly.
it's like we get, like, mental about it. But that becomes a balance, because you need the both sides of that. And I don't care if you're gay or straight or you're with 3 people or whatever, there's got to be the balance somehow. So one of them needs to be a little bit more one way, and the other one's going to be a little bit more the other way. It's not really about gender or anything. It's just about the roles that you play. And, you know, there's things that I am more lenient on with a kid, where, say, my girlfriend is a lot more strict, and then vice versa. So it's not always, we don't always play the set roles, but there does have to be the balance. So it's okay that we are strict because the mom is there to be on the other side of it. As long as we don't get too extreme, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you don't want them to just like hate you because you're just like the like rule maker dictator person. But yeah, they need that structure, but they also need the closeness, the friendship, the bond, and you know, and there is like this kind of special thing I think that happens with the kid when the parent every once in a while lets them slide. It's like this special pass that they get, you know? It's like nobody else in life is probably ever going to give that to you, which is a good thing because you would just be getting away with shit all the time. But because it's coming from your parent, I think that it just kind of creates like this special little thing. But yeah, there does need to be the balance, and I think that's why. So I don't really stress on it too much. If she is going to be lenient with her, I just let her know that I'm not going to be.
Right.
And as long as we're both okay with that, and as long as the parents communicate, and as long as the child knows that, like, the parents are a team, you know, and if the parents say something, the child doesn't get to go to the other parent and try and convince him otherwise, you know. That is like, that drives me crazy.
That rears its head every once in a while.
It's like, oh, well, you like hear him in the other room. Hey, Mom.
Yeah. So it's good that you got the balance between the two people, but something you said that stuck with me, it's actually really powerful. There's a compliment for you. Every once in a while you say something that's just like, I don't want to like share private shit in your life, but it was, so I'll leave names out of it, but you said not all that long ago that you're a father figure to a boy, and that his mom actually approached you at some point because you were basically where I'm at, like super strict about certain things. And you said that she came to you, that he said to her at some point that he almost doesn't want to be around you at times because, you know, you're so strict all the time. And so it's like kind of opened up your eyes to you know, like loosen up a little bit. Like, wow, I didn't know I was doing that. And that's kind of where I'm at, whereas she's so not strict that I feel like I got to be
overly strict,
hyper strict.
Yeah, like make up for it.
So ever since you said that, you know, I really appreciate that because when I get in that strict mode, like, wow, she's going to allow everything. I gotta rein her in a little bit.
I gotta allow nothing.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's kind of how it is. And so when stuff starts coming out of my mouth, I get a little more present. I'm like, wow, you know what? Maybe this is too much. But yeah, I mean, that was, it wasn't even my life, but that opened up my mind quite a bit. Like, wow, you know what? You can't be a total asshole because they're not going to want to be around you, and that's the last thing you want. That's the last thing I want, is to be, you know, I think we have a really good relationship. I mean, my daughter, there's at no point where she, you know, appears to like not want to be around.
Yeah.
You know, aside from the fact when she's got stuff she wants to do, you know, she doesn't want to hang out and watch movies and stuff, but that's different. It's not like she's ever like squeamish, like, oh, you know what, I don't want to hang out with Aaron because he's an asshole.
Yeah.
He's going to make me do something. He's going to yell at me everything I say.
Yeah. Can't do anything right.
But, so you got to have balance.
Within yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Damn. Shit's crazy. Dogs and kids.
They're the same thing.
It's true. They are the same thing.
They're both developing their minds.
They both work well on leash. Just kidding, everybody. I would never put a leash on my dog. Got him. Well, I feel like we covered a good amount. We kind of like...
This podcast is all about controlling other people, other creatures.
Mm-hmm.
How to get in their minds and make them do what you want them to do.
Mind control.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? I think that's a good... I think we covered a good amount.
Yeah.
40 minutes. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, I'm motivated to get some stuff done today, so... Good. Sorry, guys, we're going to cut it short.
Yep, but, yeah. Get out there and train your dogs and train your children and be balanced and be perfect. Don't make mistakes.
Wow, no, that sounds
Just
terrible.
kidding. Psych. Yeah. Just have fun out there and don't stress too much about things that you want to do. Just make sure that you have fun in all things. One thing that stuck with me when I first got my job as a mechanic at the shop that I'm at is the boss was asking me some questions when I went in to like interview, and he said, he's like, we want to make sure that you do good and that you can listen to instructions and do what you got to get done as far as work. And he's just asking me some simple things about mechanic stuff in the beginning, and he's like, and most importantly, we need to make sure that you have fun. And I was like, what? And he said, the most important thing at work is that you're having fun and you're enjoying what you're doing. And I was like, whoa. Like, okay. That's cool. Thanks. And I'm still there, so if that says anything. Get out there and crush your dreams, kiddos. Train some dogs and love your children and your people in life. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Have a good one, guys.